Yes. Okay, we are live. I was like, are we live? I don't know if this is working. But yes, we are live. I've been having problems with this, with my setup lately. It's just, all of a sudden, it's just changed, and I don't know why. But it'll work.
What, your kind of layout or just
My
in
actual
Twitter in general?
OBS. No, my OBS, like, software that I use, like, Streamlabs is, like, I don't know. I haven't streamed in, like, a week, but I haven't done a stream like this in a while where it's not playing a game. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I better put a tweet out too. But yeah, what were we talking about? 2007 wrestling, yeah, because I'm watching so much of it. But I'm seeing like Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you,
Max, for hosting the stream.
I clicked on the wrong thing. I meant to be putting a tweet out to share it, and I clicked on host as well.
Well, you hosted it, so it's fine.
To my 0 watchers
on Twitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm seeing like Mr. Kennedy and which is, it's hard to watch Mr. Kennedy because you're like, oh man, he had so much steam, and then everything that happens with him. Umaga, I never complain about like booking because it's like, what the fuck do I know? But Umaga's booking is so bad. It's like he's just thrusted into this position, and it's like, dude, if you just let him get a few wins instead of being like just Miss McMahon's sidekick.
He should have been world champion. He should have been world
and
champion.
like he because he started off 2007, he was working with Cena and he lost, and then he went into Battle of the Billionaires with Trump and McMahon and he lost. Then he was working with Mr. McMahon and fighting Bobby Lashley over the ECW championship, and Mr. McMahon won the title, and then Bobby Lashley won it back. It's just like, and then he was working with Santino and he lost to Santino, and then he worked with Jeff Hardy for a little while, and Hardy was just getting over, and Hardy beat him. It's just like, oh, just why? Oh my god, love wrestling. That would be one Spencer.
It certainly would. I heard a little tidbit of wrestling news that I think you may be incredibly hyped about. Do you, by any chance, have the Ellen Show on your YouTube subscriptions?
Yes.
Okay, so have you seen
Yes.
they've had guests?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm on about?
Are you talking about the Bella twins?
The Bellas coming back to wrestling they said in 2 years.
Yeah, oh, and I knew that. They said that months ago as well. Everyone's like,
oh, well, sorry.
They don't want the Bellas to come back, but I'm like, well, come back and win the tag team fucking championships.
That's exactly what they said they wanted.
Well, I mean, to be fair, in the Bellas' defense, which I always go in, but the Bellas' defense, at least they're a tag team.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're probably.
I was never a huge Bellas fan, but you can't deny what they've done for not only women's wrestling but wrestling in general. People look at The Rock as a big breakout star, but these girls have done huge stuff outside of wrestling. I mean, Total Bellas and Total Divas is massive, and it's because of them two.
I think I seen a report yesterday. Nikki Bella's social media net worth is $126 million, which is a lot from a wrestler. Like, at the end of the day, that's what she was. She was a wrestler. She's not a wrestler anymore. I wouldn't call Nikki Bella and Brie Bella a wrestler. They're reality stars. They've got their own brands, and whatever they do, they can kind of, I think they're going to be kind of E's little project, because the Kardashians are gone from E now, so they can kind of put focus on other areas and see what they can build. So, but the Bellas, probably, to me, this is going to be, I don't know if this is controversial, but this is why I'm saying it before we really get started, before there's heaps of people here. Are the Bellas the most legendary women's tag team ever?
I mean, who could you put up against them?
Cool, maybe? But then, I think the Bellas would probably, the Divas of Doom, Spencer's saying, Beth and Natty. But that's such a minute time when you think about it. Yeah. The Bellas were always, except for that little time where Nikki turned on Brie, but they were still working together. They've always been connected, and they always will be connected.
All the way through the career, yeah.
Are they? Is there any tag team in the women's landscape of time that you can think that are more just synonymous with each other.
Certainly not in Western wrestling, I don't think. I wouldn't know enough about Joshi wrestling to
Me either.
say that there
We
aren't
need
teams over
JPQ
there,
here.
but yeah, but
the beautiful people.
certainly,
The beautiful people would probably be. That's what Spencer said. The beautiful people. They'd probably.
Yeah, but
then,
they turned on each other every other week.
Did they though? I don't.
Yeah,
I
were
remember them at the
bitching with each
start.
other.
But the Bellas only had that one turn at SummerSlam in 2014, and they only worked against each other for a few months, and then they were back together.
I think there's certainly a case to say that Bellas should be in the conversation at least.
Which a lot of people, if you put that on the internet mags, people will be like, no, the Bellas
Yeah,
suck.
because wrestling Twitter is full of hipsters. I mean, I'm one. I'm a wrestling hipster.
I mean,
I watched the cool wrestling before it became cool, and I've moved on to other cooler wrestling.
Are Bailey and Sasha in that conversation? Probably not, because they're... Oh, but they are... I don't know. To me, they're better opponents than they are partners. And I think I connect them more with, they're opponents before they're partners. But I mean, yes, they're always going to be tied to each other. They're always
good friends,
Bailey.
Better enemies.
Look at that. See? It's like, I don't know. Didn't they used to say that about Shawn Michaels and Triple H? But then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Were they better
and
friends?
Shawn Michaels and Diesel. And Shawn Michaels and anyone, really.
Really, yeah. Shawn Michaels and anybody, to be fair. But we are here to talk about the Royal Rumble. It is, 48 hours away? Something like that. I'm lost in the process of time at the moment. Everything's just moving at a very rapid pace. But we haven't done one of these prediction shows in a little while. We're back. I don't know if I'm going to do these all the time, but I'm definitely going to be doing them for Royal Rumble and Mania. I mean, it's this time of year, so... but WWE seem to have about 60 pay-per-views in between Royal Rumble and Mania, so I probably won't do them all. But, you know... I am...
You're going to miss out on the glory that is Fastlane.
Oh, well... You know what? I think the only reason they're doing Fastlane is because of that Peacock deal. To be fair.
Probably. Absolutely.
Which, by the way, I wish I was in the States because you'd be getting a lot more for your money. And now I don't get Peacock. Do you guys get Peacock in the UK?
No. And I
think it's just American.
Particularly worried about where the WWE network goes for us non-US people, because if the US deal has been sold off, what stops the WWE from selling off the rest of the subscribers? Because are they going to keep the whole system in place that they've got for the 500 subscribers that are not US based, or are they just going to think, yeah, we'll sell the rights to somebody else?
But I mean, okay, so I don't know exactly. No one knows exactly how this is going to work. But for what I think is going to happen, personally, is that Peacock will own the rights to the WWE network, but it'll be sub-hosted on Peacock. So, like, you go into Peacock,
perhaps.
And then you click on the WWE network, and it takes you to the interface that everyone knows, and we still all get the same WWE network, but it's just a sub-host in the US. Okay. But then you're right. Who's to know that a streaming service here won't buy the rights to WWE Network, and then everybody has their own sub-hosted kind of version of the WWE Network, and it gets all weird because WWE are not going to put out deals for the WWE Network that don't relate to the US. That's not how WWE work. They're a US-based company. Why would they? Like, it's not, it's not what they want to do. But so, like, I don't know if we still get a free version of the WWE Network. I don't know if we still get, because you don't get a trial, and I don't think you get a free month. There's the free version, and then there's the paid version. But I mean, because I don't know, because I've always kind of been subscribed, so it's hard for me to know if you still get a trial or not. But I think there's just the free version and that. But then I don't know if that's going to go away. I don't know how. It's a little confusing because I haven't really given any details. But nonetheless, people that are complaining about it, I'm like, you're getting way more for the same amount of money. and you get like all these good shows on from the NBC world. So, I mean, I don't see the problem with it, but I'm not American, so
in some cases you're actually saving half of the money if you're willing to sit through adverts.
Yeah, because it's like $4.99 US for the like non-premium tier, and then there's a premium tier or something. Peacock's only new. From my understanding, Peacock's only been around for a few months.
Yeah, but they've already got 26 million subs.
Holy fuck. That's a lot.
Yep.
But they got like all the like the Office, Parks and Rec, and that is all on Peacock. So like all the shit that you want to binge, really. Like all the everyone wants to binge all these shows. So, but the Peacock deal is, they said it's like worth like $1 billion. Like people can say what they want about WWE, and they can shit on it all they want, and they can say like ratings are way down and blah 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 blah. Vince is like, bitch, I just cashed a huge check.
I think that deal proves that that ratings aren't the be all and end all in TV anymore.
They're
because
not.
WWE make money hand over fist over YouTube. They're making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year just from people watching the stuff on YouTube. They're making $1 billion over 5 years from renting out their archive of shows. I mean,
think about the Fox deal as well. They made so much money off that Fox deal. I would assume they would make a lot of money off of that. The TV ratings in people don't watch TV when they're told to anymore. They watch it when they want to watch it on demand. That's how television works now. That's how the future of the television industry is going to work. You look at all the shows now, all the best shows, Mags, now are on Netflix, or they're on a streaming service of some kind, and they're released either week to week, or they're released in one big chunk, and you watch it when you want to. That's how all television is. Kind of all the best stuff is on there now. So, it's just how television is going. So I think WWE are doing just fine, and I don't think ratings are everything. We look at Wednesday nights and stuff like that with AEW, Dynamite, and NXT, and everyone's like complaining, like going, this week they got this much. It's like, but it's not like they're cracking 4 million views. They're getting under 1 million views each of them, and even combined doesn't even make 2 million views. Like, it's not that many people watching wrestling when you think about the landscape of it. It's because people watch wrestling when they want to watch wrestling. They can watch it. I can watch Dynamite on Fight whenever the fuck I want to, and I can watch NXT on the network whenever the fuck I want to. I don't necessarily have to sit down at a television and watch them when I'm told to. Yes, of course, live wrestling is different from its sport, and you'd like to watch it live, but at the end of the day, if I have something to do, I can go and watch this whenever I want to. So, I don't know. Ratings are not the end all be all. Then they don't really mean shit to me anymore, to be completely honest.
No, absolutely. I've never been someone whose interest in the show has been based on ratings. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. It doesn't matter if it's just me enjoying it or if there's 10 million people just like me watching it. I don't get why ratings should even factor into your enjoyment of a program. And I think it's just a sign of the wacky kind of community we're in, where we think that everything that is said on wrestling Twitter just seems to have a loud voice behind it. It's massively important. I guarantee Vince does not give a toss about what's being said on wrestling Twitter, because that's not his core audience. We're just tertiary finances to him. Simple as that.
We are, but let's start talking about the Royal Rumble, because we've got 6 matches to go through. Of course, now, but I have to, if anyone watching this on YouTube or on the VOD here on Twitch, later on, SmackDown is on in a couple of hours, so everything could fucking change. That's how WWE works, so this whole conversation could be completely irrelevant by the time SmackDown airs. And then not only that, then they've got backstage, and they've got the time before the Rumble to change everything. So just remember that. So this is at time right now, 2 hours before SmackDown. This is what the card looks like. But there's 6 matches, of course, 2 Royal Rumble matches, which we'll talk about at the end, because that's what we're here for, is to talk about the Royal Rumble.
Of course.
But let's start off something hot and heavy. Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against one Goldberg. Now, I know a lot of people have opinions, and first, before we even talk about the match, there's been some comments thrown out by some legends of the business. It started with The Undertaker calling the current landscape of WWE soft, and he also doesn't like people playing video games or some bullshit like that. Goldberg kind of chimed in and said, yeah, I agree. The talent of today are soft, and they need to basically what they're saying is they need to man up. They need to just be
even
different.
Devon Dudley chirped in and said pretty much the same. He said that a lot of the talent nowadays are very disrespectful.
Yep. And I'm sure we'll both have opinions on this. We'll probably agree, Mags, but who knows? We might be different. But Mick Foley come out and said, like, I don't really agree with that at all. There's been opinions all around. There's just been a lot of opinions from a lot of different people just saying, like, they aren't, whatever. I think it's a generational thing, to be completely honest with you, Mags, is that Taker said something like some ridiculous comments on the Joe Rogan podcast. He said basically, like, I remember when I went into a locker room and people had guns in their socks or some shit like that. And I was like, well, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon, Taker, but do you, buddy? But I think it is a generational thing. Like, people in the people that are in the limelight now and the people that are just living and men, women, whatever, are not the same as they were in 1992. In my opinion, it's just like we've evolved as kind of, we are in a lot of ways, and I don't mean this as a knock, softer, and we're a little bit more sensitive, and it's just how the world has kind of been. Society has kind of taught us all to be a bit more, the world is very sensitive. So I don't really know what to say in the terms of, like, I don't understand where they're coming from. Do you know what I mean? Like, that to me is old man syndrome.
Yeah. And I think a big issue is that we put these wrestlers on these pedestals and think that they're heroes, when really they're just normal people who can be idiots sometimes. And I think what Mark Calloway has said is
shooting with his real name.
Yeah.
Mags, Insider Mags.
I think, yeah. I think the issue is he has his own thoughts and opinions, and he's more than entitled to them. But he's coming from an era where that was the dumb thing, where taking steroids and getting coked up before your matches and going out and drinking till 3 o'clock in the morning before you did the whole thing over and over again was the cool thing to do. This is the guy who led Wrestlers Court, where they punished other wrestlers by making them buy alcohol and buying all the drinks for all all that. That was his lifestyle. He's lived that lifestyle for the best part of 30 years of a career. But the wrestling world has changed. We've seen wrestling become more athletic. We've seen the superstars become so much more talented in terms of movesets to become like proper athletes instead of just like, oh, I can throw a punch and I'm big. I'm a wrestler. Now it's more of a sport. And I think with that, and then the change in attitudes and the people are being more socially aware, I think the business has kind of like passed him by in that kind of mindset. And to be quite fair, I would prefer to hear stories about wrestlers playing video games and doing their job and being normal people, rather than hearing the stuff that we've heard over this past year about speaking out, all the stories where wrestlers used to die before they were 30-year-old, where we had wrestlers injuring each other and going out and shooting people. We've had, I mean, how many wrestlers have been killed by other wrestlers because of storylines and stuff like that? So yeah, that was his day, and he's got fond memories of it, but I think that kind of time has passed, and I would much prefer the Xavier Woods kind of route, where the guy is making money playing video games rather than going out and waving a gun around and getting like coked off his face before a match. So yeah, I'm happy with today's wrestling, I think.
Yeah, it's a different business. I don't like older wrestling. I've said that before. I think old wrestling stinks.
And that's another kind of point. Back in those days, the money was for turning up to be a wrestler. You got paid, and you went to your next gig. Now wrestlers are multi-talented, kind of faceted business people. They're making money off social media. They're making money as influencers, off brand deals, off streaming. These guys have to put on a polished kind of a character. They can't be seen waving guns around and shitting in people's bags and stuff like that, because it would affect them financially. So I totally think that today's wrestlers are a much more business savvy kind of people, and yeah, I think Mark and Devon and certainly Goldberg are trying to live in the dark ages, and they need to realize that the world has moved on.
Yep, I completely agree with you. It's just a different time. But Goldberg is going for the WWE Championship against one Drew McIntyre. Now, what kind of makes me a little worried here is that taking away the stuff from The Fiend, we know we're going in like the Fiend's gonna win and then Goldberg won. But the one championship that Goldberg has not held is the WWE Championship. He has been the World Heavyweight Champion. He has been the Universal Champion. He's been WCW, multiple champions across WCW. He has not held the WWE Championship, and that is sitting in my brain because it's like, oh, it's the one final thing to tick off the list before he hangs it up, you know what I mean? And it's WrestleMania season, and we now know that we're getting 2 nights of WrestleMania in a stadium with fans, not completely filled, of course, but we are getting fans. It's a known fact that they're going to try and put as many fans as they can in both of these nights. It makes me a little concerned, because one thing we've learnt with Bill Goldberg is that you never count Bill Goldberg out. You never go, no, he's definitely going to lose. You never ever say that with Bill Goldberg. Now, Goldberg is one that gets a lot of opinions on Twitter, mostly just being fuck off. But I don't really see a lot of love for Bill Goldberg. Now, I don't take away anything that Goldberg did in his time, because Goldberg was a very, very big character that helped WCW beat WWE for a very long period of time. In a time where, we were talking about ratings before, ratings were literally everything in that time.
Yep.
That is how you judged your success, with who won on Monday nights. And WCW kicked WWE's ass for 2 straight full years. And Goldberg is a very big reason why they had so much success in WCW. And he's a big name. He's done a lot. Earned all of his status as a legend and everything. But in 2021, when you're going up against someone like Drew McIntyre, who has had you think about the year between this time last year and now, the Rumble had already aired this time last year, and he was on cloud 9. He was on that trajectory to beat Brock Lesnar and have one of the best 365 days that you can kind of recall, feud with Randy and all the people that he worked with throughout his WWE Championship run. It's like, I don't want Bill Goldberg to be the one that ends this run. Now, the match itself, I'm not really expecting that much. It's going to be very high velocity, quick, fast. No matter who wins in this one, I think it's going to be just nothing over 4 or 5 minutes long. It's the Goldberg kind of pace. You don't really want to watch Goldberg too much longer than 4 or 5 minutes, in my opinion anyway. That's when Goldberg works best, is when he can just hit a spear, hit a jackhammer, and kind of do his thing. If you're a gambling man on this one, Mags, where are you going? Where's your head at with this?
I mean, I'm not as sour on Goldberg coming back to the WWE as a lot of wrestling Twitter, because they're chasing viewers. And he does bring viewers with him. People do kind of look fondly back on that Attitude Era version of Goldberg. And whilst we smarks don't particularly like it, he does move the needle. And he also plays to an audience of 2. One being Vince McMahon, and two being Bill Goldberg himself. I mean, if you remember the stories with the Fiend, coming out of it was that Goldberg kind of like dug his heels in and said, "No, I want to win this match because I want to look like a superhero to my kid. Never mind the millions of fans watching who have really got invested in the Fiend. He wanted to look like a superhero to that one person."
Mm-hmm.
So he does seem to have that kind of stroke backstage, and I can't get rid of the feeling that either way it's going to be lose for us kind of people who have really backed Drew to the hilt this year. I want to see Drew win, but I think that will lead to something else later in the show. And it could possibly be what Voices of Wrestling were referring to as a finish that scared the death out of people. So I'm going to go with a Drew win. I think with the year that he's had, he definitely has been the face of the Raw brand. He's been a brilliant champion. He definitely deserves to at least get that in front of that audience at WrestleMania. So I'm going to go with a Drew win, but I don't think it'll be the last we'll be speaking about Goldberg.
I think no, I'm going to go Drew. I want Drew to be the one holding that championship going into Mania. I think Drew should be losing the title at Mania. I don't think Drew should be losing the title here. But it's weird. Like, I'm not saying that with complete confidence, though, because it's Goldberg and it's WrestleMania season and we're just in that time. But if I'm putting my money on it, I'm gonna say Drew.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, I mean, I'm not expecting big things out of the match. Oh, me too.
I could see both results happening.
I can close my eyes and envision both. So, I mean, it's kind of pick your side, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. But I'm going for a Drew victory.
I hope so. Let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha Banks will be defending against Carmella. They've been feuding for a while, and at this point, I don't have anything against either woman. I enjoyed their match at TLC. I thought it was pleasantly surprising on actually how good it was, but this feud has become nothing more than filler for Miss Banks.
Correct.
It is just something to do, and you're not really taking out a big match before Mania. You're letting all the stars get into the Rumble. Mella can eat a loss, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. And like you said, the TLC match was fun. I think Carmella's one of the more underrated women's talents. I think she's come a long way from being the valet for Enzo. I agree with you. I think this is just running it back for the sake of using up a spot on the pay-per-view. Keep Sasha hot with that title because as of now, she's the biggest crossover star that WWE have got on the roster. Keep milking that Disney Plus Mandalorian fame without really particularly mentioning it, and hold Sasha hot for the feud that'll come probably out of the Rumble, or even perhaps if they revisit the Bayley feud. But yeah, I can't see any more than a Sasha victory.
Oh, me too. And they'll have a fine match. It'll be somewhere in the middle of the card that will just be, it'll probably go on after a Rumble, which is a spot that nobody wants to have, but somebody's got to have it. And out of everything on here, it's probably going to be this. Mella is, I agree with you, probably one of the more underrated or underappreciated women on the roster. I think she has come a very long way, especially in ring. And her and Sasha seem to click fairly nicely. It's not to say that I haven't enjoyed the feud, but you can just sense it. You're like, okay, they're just stalling for time at this point. She's fighting Reginald or whatever his name is. And that's been fun. And I kind of like, we'll talk a little bit more about intergender stuff in a minute, but that was fun. I like what they did there. They had a fun little time on SmackDown last week. SmackDown really is kind of firing on all cylinders with their stories. SmackDown is a very enjoyable show to watch. I actually genuinely really get excited for SmackDown as opposed to Raw, which has moments of greatness and then a lot of it can just drag in between, where SmackDown's just kind of consistently very good and people are like, it's the Roman Reigns show. It's like, nope, there's a lot going on that show. Roman's very good, which we'll talk about Roman in a minute. But Sasha Banks' victory, I don't see it. Go on.
Who knew that a 2-hour show would be better than a 3-hour show? Because you're not
crazy concept.
It's not packed with full of filler. Yeah, it is crazy. Madness.
Crazy concept. But yeah, Banks is got this here. I don't really see Banks losing that championship until Mania or beyond, really. So I'm happy for her. And you're right, she probably is the biggest crossover star they have at the moment. They're not mentioning Mandalorian, but they are like without talking about it, they're talking about it. So she's kind of just like, it'd be silly to take the title. And Mella's not going to beat Sasha for the title. It'll be something to do with that Reginald fella, and that'll be kind of it for it. All right, we'll talk about the women's tag team championships that will be taking place at the Royal Rumble. 3 of these women are already in the Royal Rumble match, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's going to be Asuka and Charlotte Flair defending against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. One thing I will mention is that it now seems that rematch clauses are back in WWE because they keep mentioning it on television with multiple people. So I think rematch clauses are a thing again. Because they were taken away.
It seems so when it suits, I think, when it suits.
They should be a thing. I just think it's a wrestling thing to have a rematch. It's just necessary, I think, sometimes, just to do it.
Yeah.
I have no issue. A lot of people have issue with Charlotte Flair. I do not. I've always said that. I think Charlotte Flair is one of the greatest. I have no issue with her and Asuka. I have no issue with Nia and Shayna. What I do have an issue with is that Asuka is also the Raw Women's Champion. And there's no Royal Women's Championship match that's taking place at the Royal Rumble. Also, the feud isn't even really here for this match. The feud is Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans with Ric Flair. And you don't really need the tag team championships in this. You don't really need the Raw Women's Championship in this. I don't even understand why it's Nia and Shayna when it could be Lacey Evans and her tag team partner, Peyton Royce. Why isn't at least that happening? At least then it makes a little bit more sense with the Rick stuff. I really just, I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's happening. I have no issue with either team. I have no issue with Asuka and Charlotte. I don't have any issue with any of it. It's just the issue of the actual match itself, when there's another match that probably should have happened. This could have happened on Raw a couple of weeks ago. And we could have done that, and then Nia and Shayna would still be heavily featured they could feud with Mandy and Dana as the Rumble kind of feud, and Lacey could be integrating Peyton into this stuff with Rick. I have no issue with any of that. Like, some people are like, yuck. I have an issue with it. It's wrestling. It's meant to be kind of silly and stupid, and you have stories like this, but at least integrate it to the point where it's like, okay, it's leading to this match. Like, this whole feud is just going to be on Raw, and then they just have a match, and Charlotte beats Lacey, and then we move on. Like, it's not like it's got any steam behind it. Charlotte Flair is going to be in some kind of marquee match at WrestleMania. That's just, it's Charlotte Flair. Whether people want to fucking admit it or not, she's going to be in a marquee match. Get the fuck over it. She's a star. She's more of a star than 90% of the roster. Sorry if that offends anybody.
That was a heated rant there, Josh.
Sorry.
I've got a couple of major issues with this match. The first one is, how is Asuka, the woman who was the life and soul of WWE in the COVID era, really carried the no crowd era of wrestling with her personality, really kind of exude like charisma. How is her and the Raw Women's title playing second fiddle to not only this match, but the argument between The Fiend and Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss? I don't get how the champion is basically an afterthought in a storyline. Then get into this match. What was the point in putting the belts on Asuka and Charlotte? They've barely been together since winning the belts. They're instantly getting a title rematch against the former champions. This, to me, smacks of just padding out the numbers or trying to create a storyline where there wasn't really one. I mean, even going out of this storyline, Asuka and Charlotte are involved in two totally separate feuds, so there's no real reason for them to actually be together as a team whatsoever, unless losing the belt is going to cause drama between the two of them, which then makes me believe that before WrestleMania, Asuka's going to drop the title to Charlotte Flair,
I think
and
so
then
too.
we're going to get Charlotte Flair defending the title at WrestleMania, which it makes sense, but I don't think it needed this. It didn't need this tag team title to be thrown into the mix. It could have easily been Charlotte comes back. I want my title. I want that Raw title. Get the storyline out of the way. It's just it's almost tried to elevate a tag title that was doing pretty well with Nia and Shayna. I mean, they have been really good as the kind of odd couple of the women's wrestling. You could have had the match with the Riot Squad or the matches with Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. It just seems so convoluted.
Yeah, that's a good word to use for it. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
It's just a mess. It could have been,
to
me,
mess.
Charlotte Flair and Asuka was the match for the Rumble. That was my understanding. I was like, okay, it's going to be Charlotte and Asuka at the Rumble. That's where Asuka's going to lose the championship, whether people want to cry about it or not. That was my plan. Then Charlotte could carry the title into WrestleMania and work with A, B, or C of women. So that was kind of my understanding. And then they went this route, and now this. It's like, just... whoa, just a big fucking whoa of just what the fuck is going on? But I don't know, so it makes it really hard for me to be like, who's going to win this match? To me, it just seems like, okay, it's probably going to be Asuka and Charlotte, but then there could be shenanigans with Rick and Lacey, and there could be, but then do they save that? It depends where it is on the card. Does this go before the Women's Royal Rumble? Does this go after the Women's Royal Rumble? We really don't know. So I guess it all plays into one another. There's just a lot going on, and I don't mind when storylines aren't cookie cutter, like this is this. I like kind of layers to storylines, but there's just no story here. The story is everywhere else. And there's no tension for me between these teams, and that's what it should be. That's what a tag match should be. It just seemed like WWE do this very often. They book themselves into corners, and I think they booked themselves into a corner with Asuka, and then it was like Charlotte come back, and they're like, "Yep, tag titles," and then they didn't really think about it all that much. Charlotte even said in an interview, she said, when I first came back, they kind of had the plan laid out for me, and this Lacey Rick stuff was kind of just come out of nowhere. And she said, it's fine. So I think, obviously, according to that interview, it was just kind of like a last-minute thing that, like, this, because they like having Ric Flair on television, they like putting Charlotte with Flair, Charlotte with Rick all the time, and it's like, I don't know, Charlotte's kind of, not in this way, I don't mean she's exceeded Ric Flair in this aspect, because he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, but she's exceeded that Charlotte Flair is Ric Flair's daughter's kind of deal. Yeah. She's Charlotte Flair, she's a star, she's more than just working with Rick now. I think that time has passed.
Yeah, and I think all the problems that have gone on with this storyline, like you said, that Charlotte had the plan laid out and then all of a sudden change. That's a prime example of how bad Raw seems to be nowadays, that it's literally being Raw on the fly. Things are changing minute by minute, and there's no coherence coming through, and this really kind of shows that. In terms of the match, I think it'll be a decent match if Nia doesn't absolutely murder someone. Yeah, I mean, it's getting so hard to defend her over these botches now, especially when she doesn't help herself on wrestling Twitter.
I didn't think that one was a botch. That one with Dana. I have said
pray
this
for
before,
Dana.
because I don't think it was. Because if you actually look at that, but I'm not going to get into it because it'll just sound like I'm just being a big defense for Nia Jax, which does fuck up quite a lot. But at the same time, I've never stepped into a wrestling ring, so it's hard for me to critique someone what they're doing when I don't even know how to do it myself. That's the only thing that I have that I get a bit weird on. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Like you said, the match will be fine. I have no problem with the actual wrestling match between these four because it'll be fine. I don't know. Asuka and Charlotte will retain, I guess. That's how I'm going.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go against that. I think Nia and Shayna regain the titles. I think there'll be shenanigans with Lacey. She'll get involved, and then that'll lead to either a split between the two the two former champions, and really one blaming the other, and leading to the match where Charlotte will pick up the title, or perhaps even Lacey may challenge Asuka and pick up the title, and then we get Charlotte challenging for that at WrestleMania. Who knows? But I think we get new champions here, which will lead to some sort of confrontation between Asuka and Charlotte.
Okay. Let's move on to the Universal Championship. We have a last man standing match. Roman Reigns defending against Kevin Owens. This feud has been very well laid out. Very well laid out. What they've been working since post Survivor Series into this feud, and we've had many different layers and chapters, and we think it's the end, and then it keeps kind of going, and not once have I ever felt it's been overdone or it's been stale or it's been anything. They have really, Roman Reigns to me is anything he does at the moment is turning to absolute gold. He's just very good. And Kevin Owens is also very good, and these two just gel. And then everything else that's going on with Roman and Paul Heyman, and then the stuff they do on Talking Smack, I'm sure people see clips if they don't watch Talking Smack of the stuff that Heyman and Owens do, is just really, really good stuff. I have nothing but praise for this entire feud. The way they've integrated Jey Uso and made Jey Uso a star out of this is just, it's all accredited to how good Roman has been, and then the people surrounding Roman as well, just working 10 times as anything as anybody else. Last man standing, I'm sure these two will beat the absolute piss out of one another. It'll be a very good story. They had a great match at TLC. I really enjoyed the Owens Reigns TLC match. It was fun. And then everything else that's kind of happened in the last 6 weeks, it's been very, very good. I'm sure they'll have some kind of thing happen on SmackDown this evening, but it'll probably be like a contract signing or something. Let's be honest, they usually do those because they're like, run out ideas. We need to get to the pay-per-view, so just throw them in that, which is fine. But I expect nothing less than a very physical last man standing match. But I'll just throw it out there now. Roman Reigns is not losing their championship going into WrestleMania.
Yep. Absolutely. And this storyline right here shows the night and day difference between SmackDown and Raw. This has been very, very entertaining to watch. It's been very, very clever. The way that there were callbacks to when Roman first came back, and he was delaying signing his contract, and then we got him getting paid back with Adam Pearce and his delaying of signing a contract. It's been so clever, and if Raw could write like this, we've been talking about 2 really good shows for main roster WWE. But Roman Reigns, what a revelation he's been since coming back. Who knew, apart from everybody, that heel Roman Reigns would be gangbusters? Well, shock, horror. Exactly. Vince tried for so long to give us that sappy, sugar sweet Roman Reigns, the whitest of white meat baby faces, and it was rejected for years and years. Now, if he had this Roman Reigns, this is a Roman Reigns who you can see being top of the heap for years to come. Nobody's getting bored of this Roman Reigns. Everybody's invested in it. This match is going to be absolutely a banger, probably match of the night, to be fair, because when Kevin Owens has got an opponent who can go with him, it's absolutely amazing. I dare say they're both going to beat the absolute living piss out of each other. They're going to just destroy each other. But Roman walks out as champion. If it was up to me, I would keep this title on Roman into next WrestleMania, because he's so good as a wrestling champ. He's so good. It just looks like the head of the table. It's no easier way to say it. He looks like the head of the table.
He is a mega star. He is just He looks the part. You can put that man on a poster and people will look at him. He is, I know, I look at the industry probably a little bit different. He is the top of the industry at the moment. I just don't think there's anyone that is just, of everything it takes. There is better wrestlers than him, although Roman Reigns is a very fucking good wrestler. There's better individual aspects from other people than him, but as an all-round package, riddle me a better star that you can put on a poster and just be like, that's my guy. That's who's representing my company. He is literally the face of the company, and we haven't had that in a hot minute. Since Cena. We haven't had that industry leader that's like, that is the WWE. It's like, you don't know WWE. Oh, I know who John Cena is. He's going to go on Jimmy Fallon later. You know what I mean? Like that's, we haven't had that in a long time. And I think Roman is stepping into that role. And I mean, to have it as a heel is, different because Cena was he was a white meat baby face that the kids loved. It's just the question of is like, when it's time, can Roman be a face? Or is it just everyone's just going to turn on him? I don't know, but I guess time will tell with that. But yeah, we're both in the agreement. Roman Reigns is walking out as the Universal Champion.
Absolutely. Without if I were to bet my house, it would be on this match.
Me too. All right. Before we get into the two Rumble matches, I want to talk to you quickly about WWE's, I guess, take on intergender wrestling. And we've had these little intergender spots in the last few weeks. We've seen it with Sasha Banks and Reginald, and they had a whole match. We've seen, obviously, the RKO from Randy to Bliss. By the way, that RKO was very, very good. Like, very, very good. The way he snapped on that RKO and Bliss just, boom. You know why it works so well? Because Bliss is so little. And he could just go like, boom, and it was done. And it was cool. But in this era, in this time where we're in with everything, I know I personally don't have a problem with intergender wrestling. I don't have a problem with intergender spots. Nothing like that. I'm very accustomed to it. I watched wrestling for a long time, and I watched Steve Austin beat the piss out of Lita with a chair. Like, I have no problem with this kind of intergender stuff. Do you think it still is okay to put on not in a wrestling world, in a WWE platform in 2021? Do you think these kind of spots are okay? And these matches that we've seen with Reginald and Sasha, I know it was very, obviously there wasn't any strikes. It was a lot of just like grappling and very safe, quote unquote, maneuvers, in terms of like, you're not really seeing a man hit a woman or anything like that because they're a publicly traded company. But do you think in this, you can do spots like this and it's okay to present to?
It's a very fine line for WWE. I mean, I'm like you. Intergender wrestling, to me, it can have some really interesting matches. Going back to watching the likes of Candice LeRae in PWG, that girl can absolutely destroy opponents. We've seen Tessa Blanchard being the legitimate world champion of not only the women's division but of the men's division in Impact. So there is a place for it. I just don't think that with WWE's audience of a lot of impressionable young kids, it doesn't seem right to see men and women hitting each other, I suppose. It just doesn't sit well with me as a parent and a grandparent. But in spots like the Randy Orton with Alexa Bliss part and even with the Sasha and Reginald stuff to a degree, you can see what it was there for, and it kind of did make sense. And what is it about Randy Orton and Royal Rumble season where he just likes to beat on women? He did it with Nia Jax.
I don't know. I seen this compilation floating around on Twitter of just Randy Orton RKOing women. He's done it to like Fabulous Moolah, who probably does that. He did it to Stacy Keibler. He's Bliss, Nia, Stephanie. Remember when he did it to Stephanie and then gave her a little smooch?
Yeah.
I mean, it is
sexual assault.
I mean, 2009. What a fucking wild time. But it's I think it's okay to sprinkle it in, And I do notice that all these spots with Bliss and Randy with the fire and all of this kind of stuff and the RKO is always in the third hour. It's always right at the end of the show because I know there was a lot of speculation that USA wanted more adult content and whatever. I think this is WWE's answer to that. I have no problem, by the way. I'll just throw this out there with fire and all this kind of stuff. People are like, I have no problem with that kind of stuff. It works with the character, whatever it is. As long as it's just exclusive to this storyline and they don't just start putting it everywhere, it's okay with me. Wrestling's meant to be a little bit unbelievable. Like, okay, I understand that, the Fiend really didn't get set on fire, but let's just suspend my belief for a minute and just kind of just go with the story. To me, he's been burnt, and Randy's got burnt on the face with a fireball from Alexa Bliss or whatever the fuck she had. Like, I have no problem with stuff like this, and I have no problem with Randy and Bliss and everything
and
like
that.
that.
Fucking lucha mask he put on, it looked like a jockstrap.
It didn't look good. I was like, Randy, what's Randy into? Because maybe he wears that in other areas of his life, but this is not Pornhub, so I'm not going to go there. But I have no problem with any of it. I have no problem with sprinkled in like that, but I'm like you in the sense of like, I personally have no problem of it. Like, give me it all. But also, I know what WWE's core audience is, and it's not a 25-year-old. It's a 11, 12-year-old. And a lot of them are boys. I know a lot of more girls watch wrestling and stuff, but a lot of them are young boys. And it's like they're seeing Randy do that to Bliss. It's like they're impressionable. It's like, oh, I can do that because it's okay. I know that's a weird way to look at it, but that's how I look at it. And it's like,
no, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
Little spots is fine. And I agree. Like, as long as they're putting it in the right spots of the show where demos change, I guess. I don't exactly know how that works, but I think we will be seeing more of it, but I don't think we'll be seeing it for a long period of time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to see it over the next course of the next however many months, wherever this story kind of goes. But I don't expect it beyond to be just a thing that happens. And it keeps it kind of, when it does happen, it's like, oh God, like that was cool. It was like, oh my God, he actually RKO'd her. But I don't think, everyone's like, oh, are we going to get a match out of Bliss and Randy? I'm like, I don't think so, people. I really don't think that's going to happen. But
that'd be very one-sided.
Well, Bliss would just go over.
Yeah,
we're here to talk about the Royal Rumble matches. Let's talk about the men's Rumble first. I feel like it's just we'll go with the men's Rumble first. So currently there are 17 entrants that have declared themselves for the Royal Rumble. I'll run them down just for the sake of this. We got Daniel Bryan, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Otis, The Miz, Jey Uso, Cesaro, Jeff Hardy, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, John Morrison, Sheamus, Mustafa Ali, and Edge. They are the 17 men that are currently in this match, so that leaves 13 spots left. I'm not good at math. You should know that. If anyone's watched any of my Royal Rumble videos this week, I can't fucking count. But 17
Kenny
men.
Dykstra, the Royal Rumble MVP.
Oh, my man, Kenny Dykstra. I'm never going to say a bad word about that dude ever again. That Titantron, by the way, I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but I was like, fucking
It was so long. It was so long.
I don't know why it was happening. It was just kind of like moving, and I was just like, what's going on here? I'm like, whatever. But anyway, that's a topic for a different day. We have 13 men that kind of, I guess, more will declare on SmackDown and in between now, and they'll probably just announce every single entrant and their order on WWE Backstage, because that's apparently what they're fucking doing now, and it's pissing me off.
That's annoyed me. The fact that they're saying, oh yeah, we're going to announce the 30th. No. If you're going to announce some numbers, I get it. You want people to tune in, so you've got to say some names of who's going to be there, but not number 30. That's
not
ridiculous.
number 1 and 2. Not number 1 and 2. Oh my God. No, me and Mag said at the start, we like the fact that Edge got announced, because it's just going to be, it would just be a shitty version of last year. So, we're with you. But, so yeah, they're going to announce number 1 and 2 for the women and number 30 for the men. I don't want to know anything. And it's completely, whether you watch Backstage and you stay off social media, they're just going to fucking tell you in the show. So you can't avoid it. A million times. Yeah, it's going to piss me off. But hopefully they change their mind between now and Backstage. I don't think they will. but you never know. But they're the 17 men announced for the Royal Rumble match. I'm going to list up a few names here, Mags, and we're just going to kind of talk about them before we actually give our final prediction, because it's very hard to choose. I will say with these Rumbles, very open fields, I think, on both in both Rumbles. There's a lot of options, which is a really good thing, because I like unpredictability when it's like, I'm pretty certain, but I'm not completely certain. That's what I really love about Rumbles, to be completely fair. But first person I want to talk about is the first man that declared for the Royal Rumble. That was Daniel Bryan. A lot of people, he has been a name that has been in a kind of top spot of people like, he is going to win the Royal Rumble this year. How do you feel about Bryan? Do you think, let's get in a hypothetical world that he wins the Royal Rumble, he goes on to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Are WWE going to try and replicate what they did at WrestleMania 30? And can they eclipse that? Can they copy it? Will it just be like a poor man's version of it? Is Bryan even as hot as he once was? Give me all your thoughts on Bryan.
As soon as he was one of the first people to announce, he instantly went to the top of the odds for winning it, and I can totally understand why. He's never won the Royal Rumble. He's getting to basically winding down his career. I think there was rumours that he was going to go part time, which I think he's actually come out and said no, he wants to wrestle for as long as he can. I was happy that Daniel Bryan was one of the favourites. He instantly was my first pick. I thought, yep, this is going to be his crowning glory, getting back to WrestleMania 30 days. I think they could absolutely run with the same kind of a storyline where he's the underdog. Because he's so good at that character work.
You want to argue with the chat, by the way? You can argue with the chat.
It's far. It's back from Five Nerds.
Yeah,
of course, he's going to be pernickety. Of course, he is.
Yeah.
I just think Roman versus Daniel Bryan is a WrestleMania headlining match, so it does make absolute sense. And then you look at the kind of credible opponents you could get for Roman from SmackDown, and Daniel Bryan is head and shoulders one of the most high profile ones. So he definitely is in with a shout. I think some people who may have announced themselves or is potentially going to announce themselves may have eclipsed him now. But I wouldn't be unhappy with a Daniel Bryan win.
No, I wouldn't be either. Another man that we have to talk about is Shinsuke Nakamura. I will throw in Cesaro in this as well, because they've been kind of parallel with how they've been kind of presented since announcing for the Royal Rumble. Shinsuke's a face again. He's got his song back. He's kind of just... a lot of people are like, here we go with Shinsuke. Cesaro's been stringing together a lot of wins. I would say about SmackDown, they're putting a lot of stock into people that the internet love.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stock. You look across the board with things. They're putting a lot of time. Everybody gets a little bit of time on SmackDown too. That's why I love SmackDown so much. Yep. Of course, my one and dear, lovely, love of the world, Billie Kay. She gets 30 seconds on SmackDown sometimes, and they give it to her every week. And everyone's just kind of taking what they can and taking opportunities and just running with it. Look at Cesaro and Shinsuke. They're running with these opportunities. Bryan running with this opportunity. Like Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, Big E. The list goes on and on. Jey Uso. The list goes on and on and on of just people just getting little bits and making fucking huge things out of it. It's really, really, really cool to see. But Shinsuke, Cesaro, both getting a lot of momentum. How do you feel about these two? A Cesaro win, for example, is that something that you could envision?
Do you know how long have we as a community cried out for Cesaro to be pushed? It's almost like an annual thing now where we're bemoaning the WWE because Cesaro's been stuck in a tag team and then he gets a tepid singles run before getting thrown back into another tag team. I feel that maybe the ship has sailed on Cesaro being
Mags is gonna get fucking attacked. Everyone turn on Mags.
Shock, absolute shock. I mean, I would love for Cesaro to break through that glass ceiling. If anyone has been super Mr. Consistent for however long they've been in the WWE, it's Cesaro. The guy has great matches with everybody. He's got charisma for days. He's brilliant as a tag team. He's amazing as a singles wrestler. But I think he will perhaps potentially be the Iron Man, but I don't think he'll be the winner. And then going on to Shinsuke, his kind of quick turnaround as a face has been absolutely amazing. This is the Shinsuke that we all fell in love with at NXT. This is the Shinsuke that we all had massive high hopes for when he won the Royal Rumble in 2018. And this is the Shinsuke that WWE absolutely buried when he just went into a dick-kicking contest with AJ Styles. So I don't want to get back on that hype train just to be let down again. I don't think Vince has much intention of pushing Shinsuke as the face of the company. So I don't think he's going to win it either. So yeah, I'm ruling out Cesaro and Shinsuke.
Okay. I can probably agree with that. And another name that I'll throw in here is AJ Styles. It's weird. AJ is a main eventer, world title caliber, all of these things. But for some reason, I look at this list and I'm like, oh, AJ is definitely not going to win. Is that weird to say?
No, I get you. I totally do get you. He's not been pushed at the top of the card. He's not really kind of been the focal point. So yeah, I understand that view, and I'm the same. I think he'll be. I think, is this his first Royal Rumble since he actually joined the WWE at the
No,
Royal
he was
Rumble?
in last year's. He was in last year's because he got hurt by Edge, remember? He did that spear and took a terrible backflip, for some reason. Don't know why he did it.
But yeah, either way, I think he'll put on a good performance. He'll be one of those kind of like 20, 30-minute guys. But
he might be number one, to be completely honest. He might be
it could well be. It's a hot start for a Royal Rumble with if AJ Styles is number one. But no, I just don't envisage him winning. Unfortunately.
Okay, so I want to get a few predictions from you, Mags. I want to get who is going to win. I want to get who's going to get the most eliminations, and I want to get who is going to be number one in your humble opinion. 3 things. Okay. There you go. Go for it.
Right. I'll pick off the simpler ones first. I think the person who's probably going to eliminate the most people is going to be Bobby Lashley. With his power and strength, I think he's going to take on that kind of Brock Lesnar role that we got last year, where he's just going to be tossing dudes left, right, and centre. Number one, I like your pick of AJ Styles. I think he'd be hot. But I also think someone maybe like Dolph Ziggler could be interesting as a number one. You want someone who can come in and really hit the ground running. So someone like Styles, Ziggler, maybe even like Jey Uso be good, or like a very kind of active half-flying style of wrestler. Now, winner. Now, I have got this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that we spoke earlier about the title match between
Drew.
Don't you
dare say what I think you're going to say. Put the words already back in your mouth, mister. Don't do it.
Honestly, it's been eating away at me since I read that tweet from Voices of Wrestling about a finish that scares the death out of people, that was getting a lot of traction. I think we potentially could get Goldberg, after losing very quickly to Drew. I think there's potential that he comes in and he wins to go and challenge Roman at WrestleMania. But I'm putting this out, and I'm going to send it out to WWE. Please have Edge winning the Royal Rumble.
You want Edge to win?
I want Edge to win. I think his kind of declaration that he was in the Rumble, the way he was talking about how he wanted his title back that he never lost, he instantly got me. I was back invested. I was back at watching Edge in his heyday, and this is the kind of Edge that I wanted. I mean, I've enjoyed his feud with Randy Orton. Don't get me wrong, but I think that could be put on the back burner for a little while. Edge coming back, winning the Rumble a year after his original comeback, and then going on to challenge for a world title at WrestleMania. It's a massive star name. You know you're going to get a good match out of him. Win, lose, or draw at WrestleMania is going to make his opponent look like an absolute $1 million. You get that potential of a major good feeling moment, which we know that WWE likes to have at WrestleMania. So yeah, my money is on Edge winning the Royal Rumble.
I like that.
Please.
I would really like an Edge win. I'm in the same mindset as you. As that promo really, I was like, he never lost his championship. He never come back and instantly declared that he was going to win this title. It's kind of a story. And Edge versus Roman, Edge versus Drew. Pretty much, I could see Edge wrestle a lot of people, and I'd be pretty happy. But those two in particular, it's like that's cool. That's what I want to see Edge work with. Is like, I love this stuff with Randy, I really did, but we had seen it before. I want to see if Edge has only got so many more, bumps left in him. I want to see him work with people that I haven't seen him work with before. Edge is someone that I really would like to win. Now, for me, number one is either an AJ Styles or it's like a Sami Zayn. That's who I see starting at number one. Most eliminations, I'm kind of in the mindset that's going to be Big E.
Good shout. Because
Big E is just someone that's, it could just put a nice little feather in his cap to be like, I got the most eliminations. And like, I like how yes, he's the IC champ, but they're doing that kind of slow and steady build with Big E. They're not giving to it all at once. They're kind of just like, here you go, and we're going to give it to you in little bits. That's how I like builds. So then when it happens, it's even bigger. So Big E is someone to me. I think the winner is going to be, I keep changing my mind, but I'm going to go with my heart. And my heart says Daniel Bryan, so I'm going to say Daniel Bryan. I understand I could be very wrong, but there's something within me that just says Bryan has got this one. And I think it's going to be Bryan and Roman at WrestleMania. I just see it. That's how I want it to be. And yeah, I like Bryan, and I just think if it's not now, it's never. That's how I see it with Bryan.
I mean, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
So Bryan is my winner. One last thing I'll talk about the Men's Royal Rumble is if any dreamland of your brain could go anywhere, what is the one surprise you want to see from the Men's Royal Rumble? Who is someone you want to see in it? Whether it's from NXT, whether it's from yesteryear, whatever. Who is the one surprise you want to see show up in the Men's Royal Rumble?
Oh, if I could pick only one, and just for the pop and just for the I mean, I know we're not getting a crowd, but
for
still,
us to pop. For us to pop.
Yeah, for us to pop and for the fun one to pop, it'd have to be John Cena. It would have to be John Cena.
Didn't think you were going to go John Cena, okay.
Yeah, I mean, once he's been away for so long now that you've kind of like, you've got rid of that Cena go away or lol Cena wins kind of mentality. He's in the kind of the area of legends now, where when they come back, you instantly remember the good things that happened with John Cena. You instantly remember the rap battles and chucking nuts at people. So yeah, I'd love a massive Cena pop. So yeah, I'll go with John Cena, I think.
Well, Matt in the chat is saying Adam Cole, baby. He would like to see Adam Cole in the Rumble.
I believe he'll be in it. I believe Adam Cole will be in it.
I believe so too. But for me, for my one surprise, if I could pick one, I'd like to see Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, God, I would give my teeth for that. If Brock enters this Royal Rumble, all bets are off. Edge
That's what I think too.
Goldberg ain't winning it.
Brock's winning. If he's in it, he's winning. That's how I see it. And I think we could get Brock and Roman again at WrestleMania. Now, hear me out. Imagine Brock as the face and Roman as the heel in this and they actually book it that way.
Whew. Yep.
I wouldn't hate that.
I mean,
I wouldn't
there's
hate
a
it.
there's a story there. The animosity he'd have with Paul Heyman, the animosity he'd have with Roman. You took everything away from me when I was at my lowest. I'd been beat by Drew. I was doubting myself, and you swooped in and took Paul Heyman. And yeah, the story's there. I mean, Brock and Roman could have a banger of a match, especially with this Roman and a face Brock. Yes, that I would love that.
See, I knew it. I knew you would like that. Yeah, but Brock's my one. If I could just pick one, it's Brock. Let's talk about the women's Royal Rumble. So there's 12 of the 30 entrants announced for the women's Royal Rumble. We have Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Peyton Royce, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Tamina. Tamina, why the fuck? Get out. No offense, Tamina.
There's nobody meaner than Tamina.
And I think Natty got announced as well, but it's not on this Wikipedia page. But I think Natty has also been announced for the Royal Rumble as well. But Natty will be in it. There'll be many women that aren't announced, just like many men that aren't announced that will be in it. And we've still got SmackDown to go. So if Natty hasn't declared, I'm sure Natty will. Let's be honest. It's Natalya. She's in fucking everything. Women is an open field as well. But to me, there's a group of women at the top that I'm like, everyone's kind of picking from. There's no really like left of field picks as opposed to the men. That's not to say there isn't a lot at the top. There is a few at the top that people are like, oh, okay, it might be this person, which is it's a good thing. But let's list off a few people here. First and foremost, let's talk about Charlotte Flair. I want to ask you a simple question. Can you ever count out Charlotte Flair?
No. Charlotte Flair is entering kind of lol Cena wins territory. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that I would be unhappy with Charlotte victory because, quite frankly, she carried that women's division for so long. She's arguably the best pure wrestler that they've got on main roster in terms of the women. She's an absolute star.
Matt is going off.
but I have to. I'm legally obliged to dislike her because of Paul Tully's massive affiliation for her. So I can see Charlotte winning. It would make sense for her to win. But come on, 2 wins in a row when they've got such
they haven't done it yet. They haven't done it yet with the women's
talent. Yeah,
but you can't count her out though. You can never say that she's definitely not going to she's definitely not going to win. It's like
no.
I said that last year and she won. So
yeah,
Charlotte Flair's not one to count out.
And then she wrecked Rhea Ripley afterwards, and I don't mean wrecked her like in the match. The match was amazing, but wrecked the kind of the hype and the buzz that Rhea Ripley had.
Yeah,
she
had a lot of steam. I want to talk to you about Peyton Royce.
No.
Because
no chance.
I hate saying this about Peyton because I really do think that Peyton is very good. But man, she is boring. Boring. Her best asset was Billy. And that is now gone. And she's been placed into another tag team that just doesn't quite fit. Because if Peyton's not with Billy, I don't want to see her in a tag team. I'm not saying that Peyton Royce can't be great, and I'm not saying that Peyton Royce is a bad wrestler, because she isn't. Although I will say, there's been a lot of opportunities that Peyton has had with a lot of top talent, and I've seen her kind of just drop the ball. She's dropped the ball a few times, and people are like, that was Charlotte's fault with that natural selection. I'm like, nope, Charlotte did her job. Peyton did not. Peyton didn't. And I don't like being nasty to Peyton Royce.
I know she retweeted you. You was like having absolute kittens.
I love Peyton. I want Peyton to be fantastic, but her biggest asset.
The worm has turned. The worm has turned.
But her biggest asset was Billy.
Who
Billy
knew?
Has shined. Billy has just absolutely been a star. Like every opportunity that Billy's got, she has taken it, and she's gotten internet over. Everybody loves her on the internet because she's just different. She's unique. She doesn't look like any of the other girls. She doesn't wrestle like any. There's no character. There is no character like Billie Kay. As she would say, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Billie Kay with her resume and her headshot, and she's working with the Riot Squad. It's just all great. Yep. And then you look on the other side of things, and it's just Peyton is just lost. She's so lost in this thing. It's just like, I want so much more for her, but also she needs to, any opportunity she gets to work with the people like Charlotte Flair and to work with people like, even in that women's Survivor Series match, she eliminated Bayley, and nothing came of it. Like, she had like a tag team opportunity, and she was just, I hate using this term because I don't, like I said, I'm not a wrestler, but sloppy. Mm-hmm. Just seems like she just doesn't care. And I don't know. Peyton Royce is someone that everyone wants so much for, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Yeah. Who knew that splitting up the Iconics, that Peyton Royce was actually the Marta Jannetty and not Billie Kay? Because I mean, and that sounds like a massive slight, and it's not. But it I think having Billie beside her really hid a lot of the weaknesses that Peyton has. And Billie is absolutely shone. She's a superstar, a genuine superstar, just like a lightning in a bottle kind of character. Mm-hmm. I like both of them. I think that they work really well together as a tag team, but you can see that the real star was definitely Billie Kay. I don't think Peyton's got an absolute chance in this Rumble. She'll just be fodder for somebody.
Damn.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Damn. Tell us how you really feel, Max. That's the only reason I kind of brought her up. Let's talk about Alexa Bliss. In the last few weeks, she has been a name that's been thrown around as like, I can see that one winning. The only reason that I put her so high in this list of like people that could win is because she is white hot at the moment with The Fiend and with Randy, and WWE might be like, let's capitalize on this. Now, I don't think a character like Alexa Bliss needs a women's championship, personally. I think she doesn't exceed the championship, but I just think that persona doesn't necessarily fit with a title. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't happen, because look at The Fiend. He's a 2-time Universal Champion. Whether those reigns met something or they didn't is neither here nor there. They happened. So it's not to say that WWE won't be like, she's white hot, she's going to win the Royal Rumble. I like Alexa Bliss in this role. I think she has really done some great character work. Also, I know this is probably not breaking news, but a fantastic speaker, and just adapts to any character that she's kind of given. That is a talent that you can tell is just given an opportunity and just completely just runs away with it, just runs it to the moon as much as she can. Works great with Randy, works great with The Fiend, especially when it's a very interesting storyline. Could go wrong very, very fast. People could be really sour on this very quickly, but for the most part, people seem to really enjoy this stuff. How do you feel about Alexa Bliss and her chances of winning the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I mean, if she were to win and get that WrestleMania match, and then we did get Charlotte taking that the title from Asuka in the run up to WrestleMania, Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania is a marquee match. There's no two ways about it.
Something really that hasn't really happened. They haven't really had a program. They've worked, but they haven't had a program, from my understanding.
Exactly, and they've both held multiple championships in WWE on both Raw and SmackDown. So yeah, that it makes a lot of sense. My only issue is, and you kind of alluded to it, is she's so entrenched in this Randy and the Fiend storyline that what does a title match and a Royal Rumble win really add to that? It kind of like would then dilute Alexa Bliss's character work now as the kind of like the puppet for the Fiend for me. So whilst I wouldn't be that upset about an Alexa Bliss win, I just don't think it would. I think more other wrestlers could use that opportunity for a WrestleMania match a lot more than maybe Alexa Bliss could.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Bliss is kind of just, it doesn't really, from my 2 cents, I think a mixed tag is what they're leading to at WrestleMania with
Seems like that.
Fiend and Bliss versus Randy and Nikki Cross, maybe Randy,
Yeah.
someone like that. That's what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to stretch this out till Mania, but who really knows? One last person I want to talk about before we give our predictions is one Bayley. Now, I know you had a lot of opinions on heel Bayley. I know we've had many conversations, the fact that you weren't really the biggest fan of heel Bayley, and I was. I thought it was great. Have you changed your mind? Because I think Bayley is top tier, like elite level of just so great. She's a great speaker. She's a great character. Fantastic on Twitter. Great wrestler, of course. And her stuff with Belair, I really enjoyed. The obstacle course and that, I loved it. I thought it was fun. I honestly really enjoyed it. How do you feel about Bayley in this very moment?
Okay, I mean, I had massive reservations with heel Bayley, and it wasn't because I don't like Bayley at all. I thought her character was perfect for the demographic that WWE were going for. The hugger character, I was so kind of entrenched as her as a face that when she switched to heel, it just didn't work for me. I just couldn't get behind her. The Karen hairdo did not help. The Karen attitude certainly did not help. But over the months, she's really grown into it. And I can't now look back at Bayley being a face. I think she's so good at being a smarmy, cowardly, snotty heel. The stuff with Sasha Banks absolutely made the year. It was such a good feud, and I was actually quite disappointed when it ended the way it did. I thought that was something that maybe they could stretch all the way out to a massive WrestleMania moment, and potentially a Bayley win means that we could get that WrestleMania moment. But I think sometimes you need to be out of the main picture for a little while to kind of refresh before coming back in. And I think her going straight back into this main event picture, whilst it is a massive name, again, Bayley versus Sasha at WrestleMania is a huge deal. I think it may be a little bit too soon. So I think that Bayley's going to be there or thereabouts. I think she's certainly going to be the Iron Woman of the match. But I don't think she's going to win.
Okay, so what I want to know from you is a little different from the men's stuff. I don't want to know about most eliminations or who's going to be number one. I want to know your winner, and I want to know your dark horse pick. Someone a little bit left of field that you can go, maybe.
Okay. So I'll go with the dark horse, and there's no rhyme or reason for this. It's just that for me, she's probably the most legitimate wrestler that's certainly been announced for the Royal Rumble. It's Shayna Baszler. I think she is so good. I mean, watching her from her MMA career and the way she's transitioned into wrestling has been absolutely phenomenal. She went about it exactly the best way, going over and learning her chops in Japan. Dominated on NXT. It's kind of like hit the rails a little bit in main roster, but she's shown that she can adapt with this kind of like odd couple comedy act that she's got going with Nia. But there's always the point where she should step up and be the top dog in the women's division, and it could potentially start at this Royal Rumble. I think it would all rely on whether Asuka and Charlotte retain or Nia and Shayna win the titles. I think if they don't win the titles, it's more likely that Shayna could win the Royal Rumble. But yeah, I'd go with Shayna as my dark horse. But for a winner, for me, this is as cut and dry as I can possibly get a Royal Rumble. It's Bianca Belair. She has been absolutely phenomenal in this build-up to the Royal Rumble. The stuff with Bayley, the carrying Otis on her back, showing how she's the strongest, the fastest, the bestest. I love Bianca Belair. She's almost been put on the back burner on main roster, and this is her time to shine. She did so well in last year's Royal Rumble. I think she's going to go one better. And you tell me that Sasha versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania is not a match made in heaven. Two wrestlers with the legitimate sports backgrounds, two women of color, potentially main eventing one of the nights of WrestleMania. That's a statement right there. That shows kind of how far the WWE are coming in, not in terms of women's wrestling, but in terms of minorities. Yeah, I think that's a feel-good story written all over. So I'm going to go with Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I'll just throw this in there, by the way. 2 nights of WrestleMania, we should have a main event of each night being the Royal Rumble winner. That's just how that's just how it should work. They should main event night 1 and night 2, wherever order you want to go. Okay, so I'm going to go with winner first, dark horse second. So my winner is the same as you. I do think it's going to be Bianca. I just think that she is just... It's her and Banks are going to work at Mania, whether Bianca wins or not. That's the Mania match to me. However we get there. I just think, like you said, there's been no one built better. I think she's going to go coast to coast, by the way. I think it's going to be number 1.
Oh, can you imagine?
And it's just going to be a star-making night. Because last year, I know Charlotte won, but the people that everyone was talking about Bianca last year is like Bianca's performance in the Rumble was top tier, just amazing. And it was like her coming out party almost, being like, I know that I'm in NXT, but I'm here. I'm ready to be on the main roster. And, you know, it was a little bit of a topsy-turvy start like most NXT call-ups are. But she's in a pretty predominant role on SmackDown at the moment, working with Bayley, their top heel, essentially, on SmackDown. So, I mean, Bianca to me is the win. Now, I'm going to go way left of field with a dark horse. Like, way left of field. I don't give a fuck what anyone says to me. Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, yeah. This is a shout. It's
way left of field. But just close your eyes, everybody that's listening or watching this, and just picture Shotzi Blackheart eliminating that last person. And Shotzi Blackheart instantly goes, it's a risk nonetheless, but instantly goes from a person that has somewhat amount of steam to do or die, sink or swim. You're instantly different. You're instantly a star. We've given you the ball. Run with it. It's left of field. I understand that, but Shotzi Blackheart.
I like it. I mean, if we're looking at NXT people though, I think
Rhea.
It's hard to look past Rhea.
She is instantly to me. I have a weird feeling that it could be Rhea and Charlotte at Mania again. With Rhea chasing Charlotte for the title.
There's certainly a story there. There's absolutely a story
because
there.
It's like Rhea's like, you stalled me. You cut the rope from under me. You took all of my steam, all of my gas, and I want it back. And I mean, Charlotte and Rhea to me had the best pure wrestling match of Mania outside of the cinematic stuff. They had the best wrestling match of both nights. To do that in front of fans, I just think it would be doing not only Rhea a service, but I think it would be doing Charlotte a service as well. But it's just the question of that, like, if Rhea is in this match again, she has to win. I know wins and losses aren't everything, but Rhea would have to win that match.
Yeah. To go 0-2 at WrestleMania against Charlotte, yeah, that would be a killer.
It wouldn't even matter to me if Rhea won and then dropped the title a month later. She has to win at that Mania to me. But I just don't know. I don't know. But Rhea is definitely in my mind as well. Rhea's going to be in this Rumble. Just whether she wins or she doesn't, she's going to be in this Royal Rumble match. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. She's going to be in this match. But Shotzi. I was just like, I don't know why. Just a complete. That's why it's called a dark horse. I guess it's just completely left of field. But Shotzi Blackheart. Surprise.
The only way I'd throw water on that fire would be she's heavily involved in the women's Dusty Cup on NXT with Ember Moon. So perhaps it may not happen because of that. But
it's just a dark horse.
Yeah, it would be such a pop if Shotzi won that. It'd be such a pop because she is a ball of energy. I
Likeable too.
really enjoy watching her. Yeah.
Very,
So
very likable.
so,
If
yeah.
you had one surprise for the women's Royal Rumble, like with the men's, if you could just name one woman that you'd like to see in this match, who would it be?
Oh no, I have been debating this since you'd mentioned it for the men's, and there's two names who I really want, but to just give you one, it would be Victoria. Um,
Yes.
it's a diva that we've never really seen come back to WWE, even though she's still able to go. And it's someone who I always thought was way better a wrestler than the era she was in. I think that if she was in this era now, she would be a made woman in whatever company she was working with. And I'd love to see her just have like one last little run with WWE. So yeah, I'll go with Victoria.
Okay, so I had two as well. For the sake of arguments, you can throw out who's your other one, just so I can say two as well.
Okay, so same kind of deal. It's a woman who was good way before her time, and it'd be Jazz. Again, she's doing a kind of
Jazz.
like a retirement run in Impact. She's just been teaming and fighting up against Jordan Grace. I absolutely adore Jazz. I think she's an amazing wrestler and a real cool human being. So yeah, I'd
Just
like to
seems
see
very
her.
sweet, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird how sometimes the most badass wrestlers you see them in interviews and that, and they're just the sweetest souls. Like she's just got a sweet heart about her. There's something about Jazz that I'm like, oh, what a lovely woman. Okay, so my two. The first one is Melina, because I think Melina was an underrated worker of her time, and I think if she was around a little bit later, I think she would have thrived. Well, she still did thrive in her time, but I'm watching a lot of her stuff now. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize actually how good Melina was, and they put her in there with a lot of workers that were just models that were trying to learn on the fly, and they were trying to let Melina just kind of guide it. And that's not always fair to do to a worker, but I would like to see Melina. I know there's been a lot of rumblings with Melina in the last 6 or so months, but I like Melina, and I'd like to see that kind of era represented as well. So I'd go with Melina. The other one
Cool.
is a matter of like if it was possible, but I'd like to see Paige. I mean, Edge come back. Lots of people have come back from injuries. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I would like to see Paige, because I just think it was a career taken way too fucking soon, and she is very young. I would like to see Paige.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it would be cool.
I mean, what she could have become if she didn't have to retire due to injury. She could have been where Charlotte is now. She could have been where Becky was in the last couple of years. She was an amazing character, an amazing wrestler, and yeah, it was definitely a career cut too short. So that would be the edge of last year's return if that happened.
Paige, I'd like to hear that music and just see her be in it. Before we go away, everybody, there's been a lot of speculation about one name you just mentioned just then, and that's one Becky Lynch. I know she just had a baby, but a lot of people seem to think that Becky Lynch is going to win the Royal Rumble. Have you seen that kind of floating around? Is that Becky Lynch is going to win the Royal Rumble? I just don't see her being in it. I don't think she's going to be in it.
And I've heard Ronda Rousey as well.
Ronda,
her contract is up in April, I believe, and she's been away since pretty much when she got beat by Becky. That'd be an interesting comeback if both of them came back. I mean, there's 17 spots in the Royal Rumble. You can fit them in. Whether Becky's ready to come back. I mean, she only gave birth a month ago, maybe.
I think it was just before Christmas, maybe. I think that's not a lot of time in between. But I mean, it's not to say that it isn't possible. But no, I just don't. I personally, Becky, I see more Becky at Mania than the Rumble.
Yeah, for me, a Becky return is with fans. We need, if anybody needs fans for a return, it's definitely Becky because of how red hot she was. She was the face of the company. Simple as that. She was the first woman to be face of the company. Everybody loved Becky. So bringing it back at the Thunderdome, it'll be like a damp squib. I think a return at WrestleMania will be huge.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't see Becky. Ronda, maybe. I'll certainly be waiting. I'll certainly be like, you know, when the countdown comes on, right? You're in the either Rumble, and you're like, oh, is it this person? Is it this person? Oh, it's Ronda. Here comes Ronda. Or it was like last year, it was like, is it going to be Edge? And it wouldn't be. I think I'm going to be in that mindset. I love Rumbles, man. I get so excited for them because I'm like sitting there, and it's the one time where I get to watch wrestling with a lot of people, because a lot of people, yes, guys, Australia is like pretty much like COVID. Yeah, we don't have a lot of restrictions, so we can have lots of people in our houses. So calm down. But it's the one time where my couch is full and people are like, casual fans can watch, because it's like, it's the Rumble. It's simple rules. It doesn't matter. So people come back. So it's like, you're just kind of feeding off everyone's energy, and you're like count down. Like, it's almost like you don't hear a crowd because you're the crowd in your own house. Like, it's pretty, Rumbles are pretty special. Rumbles are pretty damn great. So, just like that suspension of like, who's going to come out, and that's why I don't want Backstage to tell us who's coming out at 30 and who's coming out at 1 and 2. I don't want to know. I just want to, I like going into a run. If it was up to me, Mags, no one would be announced. No participant would be announced. They'd just be like, maybe I'm going to be in the Rumble, maybe not. And then you just go in and be like, okay, this person's in the Rumble. It's like, this is cool. But I understand why they announce people. But yeah, it's a fun time. Rumbles are my favorite thing of the year. I like a Royal Rumble match better than I like all of Mania. Is that like the match itself? Maybe not the whole show. I probably like Mania better than the whole show of the Rumble. But I like the matches of the Royal Rumble better than I like Mania. Rumbles are great. Even a shit Rumble, dude, is still a Rumble. It's still fun.
Exactly.
You get the countdown. You get 60 entrants now. It's great. Great stuff.
Yes. So suck it, Paul Tully, who said Royal Rumbles are boring.
Did he say that? Did he say that?
He did say that. He said, once you've seen one, you've seen them all, and they're boring. Yeah. And I nearly blocked him because of it. Because what in the fuck? Royal Rumbles are the best. They're the best thing about wrestling. Simple as that.
And you know what's really crazy? When you think about a Royal Rumble match of the actual wrestling, Mags, it's not very good wrestling. They're just hugging each other on a rope. And they're like, ooh, I'm going to get you over. And that never... When does that ever work? When you're just holding them on the rope? No one ever gets eliminated like that. You get eliminated by being just thrown out or getting knocked out or some bullshit like that. You don't sit in the corner and be like, I'm going to... And it's like 7 people on one person and they still fight them off. It's like... It's fucking stupid, but it's great. I live for it because I'm all like, oh, are they going to get thrown out? Are they not going to get thrown out? You know when the 1 and 2 are in their Mags and they always do the spot where one nearly gets tossed out and the crowd's like, oh, and everyone's like, they're out. But it's like, they're not going to get fucking thrown out like that.
Or when you get Dolph Ziggler getting thrown over and he skins the cat
40 times a match. Yeah, and it's great.
I love all that shit. And
I'm 10 years old.
Kofi Kingston, Naomi getting thrown out, and they find some magic way to make sure their feet don't touch the ground.
What are they going to do this year? Are they going to like fucking, I don't know, fly?
Kofi,
are they gonna...
because he's injured.
He's injured, but Naomi should enter it. She might fly. They might like grow her wings or some shit. I mean, they use fire and shit now. Why can't they have Naomi turn into an actual bird? That'd be pretty cool. And she just flies into the ring. They can use some kind of Thunderdome technology to do that shit. I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I'm 10 years old. I'm everything about it. It's just, sign me the fuck up. Where do I sign to give them my fucking credit card number? Because I'll give it to them. You know what I mean? It's cool. But I'm enjoying the Rumble. I hope everyone here is going to enjoy the Rumble in a few days. SmackDown's on in an hour for anyone that's going to watch that. I will be. SmackDown's a great show. You'll probably go to bed, Mags, because it's probably getting relatively late. And you old as fuck, so, you know, your bedtime was like 4 hours ago.
I've been waiting all this time for a dig
at
my age.
You had your dinner at 3 p.m. and you're like, oh, it's 5 p.m. Better get in the old shower and go to bed, you know? I understand. It's all right. Old age happens. It's natural. It's natural, Mags. Don't worry about it, all right?
Wow.
It's completely normal. Don't feel insecure. A lot of people your age go to bed at 5 p.m.
I had a nap to make sure I was able to stay awake for this recording.
But yes, everyone go and enjoy SmackDown. Enjoy the Rumble. We'll be around on Twitter, I'm sure. Tweet at Mags. He will. He's a little unfriendly, but He's all right.
What? How rude. I'm
Tweet,
very friendly.
Tweet Mags. His Twitter handle's been up on the screen this entire time. So go and tweet Mags. He'll talk to you about the Rumble, and he'll give his opinions on things. He's got good opinions for the most part.
Sometimes.
He gets a thing right or two here or there in his 80 years that he's been watching wrestling, so he should know a thing or two, you know? When in his day they carried guns in their socks. Isn't that right, Mags? Isn't that what Mark told you?
Back in my day, men were men.
Men were
what
men.
What a shitty thing to say.
Isn't that just awful? I was just reading that. You could imagine me, Mags, just reading that, and I was like, oh, I can see how his thoughts on things are. I was like, Taker's really exposed himself as a person this last year, hasn't he? Maybe there was a reason he stayed in kayfabe. Remain dead,
Correct.
buddy. Remain dead. It was I liked you a lot better at Chris Jericho. Okay, on that note, I am going to sign off, everybody. Have a great Rumble. Enjoy the rest of your day or your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I'll be back soon here on Twitch. I might even go live after SmackDown for some games, but I don't know yet because I also get tired in the afternoon and have a nap. So,
see, because you're getting old. You're getting old now.
So I might have a nap.
Closer
but if I don't,
to 30
I'll be back
than
with
you
some
are
games.
20.
Enjoy SmackDown, everyone. Goodbye.